Short-term rental is literally the wonderful thing that you can just stack on your company, whether it is a separate company or it's just services that you offer. This is something that's going to be fantastic for you to explore. And we're going to address some of those pros and cons today during our Stager series. Short-term rental means that there is typically not a minimum day stay on someone coming, and they are now cohabitating. They are taking that ownership in the form of renting that space. And I say space because this could be anything under the sun. So we can't just say it's a home. You can say a property, right? But it's really that space, because now people could literally take their camper, their tent, and rent land, and they call it an STR. There's so many out of the box things that people are doing, but typically they're going to be renting an apartment, a townhome, a single family resident. That is what is going to be typical as far as the roof over their head. So now we understand short-term rental could be, that's the difference between short-term, long-term, corporate housing that has a 30-day minimum sometimes. There's typically no minimum. Now within the platforms, that host or the owner could set a minimum. Like with us, we have minimum of 2-night stays. We don't want someone in just one night. Personally, we want to try to, decourage those partiers, the ones that are just looking last minute. We want to vet out who is staying in the property. So it just means, though, that we don't have those typical limits. That is the definition of that short term. And short term can literally be within a 24-hour period that they are staying in the property. Now, we have to think about the hotel industry. We have to think about hospitality when it comes to the services that we can provide. Remember, I said you can't just take your vacant thought process staging and your staging inventory and just hop this over into a short-term rental. So when you're starting to offer these services, you have to know there's going to be a little bit more guesswork. We've got a little bit more of the design elements to consider before we set up these properties for use. And that's the biggest thing, right? Write the word down: usage. Okay? Usage. Usage is what it's about. Your staging inventory is for display only. In fact, it says it in our agreements: display only. We don't want someone sitting. We don't want someone sleeping in the bed. That's a no-no. It is display. Design is for usage, but it also has those elements of beauty and balance and unity and harmony and all of those things that make design what it is. And we talked about design versus interior decorating yesterday, so make sure you watch that, which is typically what we're doing, right? Interior decorating. However, we now have to think about the usage, the safety of that space, the usability, the utility. And that's going to be the difference of those two being together. And now we are staging a property, yes, but more of styling it for use. Okay, styling it for use. So it still has to be stylish. It still has to speak the language that's going to draw that avatar in online, literally to schedule online. They're not walking the property before they decide to rent it. It has to be beautiful online. It has to speak to their heartstrings. So when they come in, now the utility, the usability of the space is in alignment with the look and feel that they're wanting, that they desire, that they actually paid for in advance. So now that we know what those services are, we've got to understand that this is typically a full-on property setup in most cases. It is very rare. Now, we've set up 50 plus. We'll set up going on, I would say, a good 60 to 70 by this year end. And that's probably, we're probably getting, gosh, I'm not even counting the others that we did for a major client. And I don't know when those started. They started kind of at the end of last year, moved on into, but we've done over 100 over these last good 12, 24 months, no doubt about it. And every property is a little different that we've got to think about. So we're setting up the entire property. We're thinking first, let's, as a service, we need to know the footprint of the property, and that would be in the form of a floor plan.